Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Real Money, Real Business podcast. I'm Michelle, and today we have Josh on the show who has just listed his business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. Hey Josh, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hi, I'm well, thank you.
I want to thank you for making the time to come on today, and I'm looking forward to learning more about your business. But before we dive in, let's go over a brief summary of it. It's a display advertising and Amazon Associates business in the baby care niche created in November 2018. The average revenue for the business is $7,077 per month, and it makes an average of $7,041 per month in net profit. So included in this sale is a primary domain, including all site content and files, social media accounts for Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter, and an email list with 85 subscribers. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 61024 to learn more about this business. Or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So now that we've heard about the business, let's hear more from the seller. Josh, could you fill us in on your background in starting and running online businesses?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, this particular site was started in 2018. Before that, I had dabbled in blogging for a couple of years, trying to learn, the ropes and figure out what I wanted to do in the space. I worked on this project for a year or so before finding some initial success and implementing, a couple of specific processes for keyword research and content creation that really took things to the next level. At that point, I started to, scale my content. I hired writers, editor, and really started publishing a lot of information content. From the very beginning, this site has been information-based. I'm answering questions for the reader and had great success with that. Traffic after the initial kind of ghost town phase. This was a fresh domain, fresh site, everything. After the ghost town phase, things started to progress pretty rapidly, and it's doing quite well these days.
That's excellent. So you mentioned that you had been into blogging before you started this business. So I'm kind of curious what inspired you to choose this particular niche and start this particular site.
Right. So this particular site is in baby care, and I have 4 children myself. So it's one of those things where when I was trying to decide the niche that I wanted to be in, I wanted to choose something that I was familiar with, I had experience with, that I knew, inside and out. And since I have 4 kids, baby care is an obvious choice. So I think that lent me really just that sort of sixth sense or, intuition that I needed to navigate the topics and really understand what parents are looking for when they're asking questions about their kids.
Definitely. I think that's such a great approach to starting a business is, not only are you kind of capitalizing on your existing knowledge, but it's something that you're interested in as well. So you're kind of going out there and doing the research, for yourself as well as for others. So I think that's really excellent. So with your business, you have 2 different revenue streams right now, and that's display advertising and Amazon Associates. So I was just curious, you got your display advertising makes up proportionally a greater percentage of your revenue. Has that always been the case? Did you start with display advertising first, or did you start with Amazon Associates?
I guess you could say I really started with both, but from the beginning, my intention with the business model for this site was to be primarily display advertising. And the reason is that I wanted to be able to create content for the site on evergreen topics that, I could rank well in Google, that I knew parents would be searching for yesterday, today, and in 10 years. And so my primary reason for this business model was, I don't want to use the word passive, but I wanted to use the business model where I could create something once and it would continue to pay me for a long period of time. And that's what I found with this site. As I mentioned before, it's primarily information content. There are a few affiliate focused articles around baby products and things like that. But for the most part, it's information based content answering questions, and there's some affiliate links for Amazon sprinkled in. Like I said, that was what drew me to this. I wanted to have, stable income. I wanted to be able to see the relationship between effort put into content and income coming in later on, and as a residual income as well.
And do you think that there's room to add additional affiliates? Maybe if somebody were to sign up with multiple affiliate networks to kind of maybe increase revenue?
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest opportunities, honestly, because I don't have any background in affiliate marketing. And so, there are so many brands out there, related to babies, whether it's clothing, toys, whatever, that the potential buyer could work with and establish a relationship with that offer much higher commissions than Amazon. That's really truly an untapped opportunity for this site, for sure.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that would help the business grow. Now that you've had this site for a few years and you've grown it into something very profitable, why have you decided to sell it now?
Really, the biggest motivator at this point, well, there's two big motivations. Number one is I would like to have, honestly, the cash in hand to clear out personal debt and really just, get back to square one with our personal finances, which, I don't have any shame in admitting. I think that I want to get that back to square one.
Yeah, it's a smart move.
And the second reason is that, it's a mature site now for me. It's my biggest site, but I do have other projects in the works, and I want to take advantage of this sale to take my business to the next level with the processes I have in place and basically be able to work on these other projects and give them more time, attention, and, financial backing. So it's twofold. It's squaring away my personal finances, and it's taking my business to the next level with my other portfolio sites.
Definitely understandable. So, Josh, I wanted to ask you, since you started this business, what would you say was your biggest win? Was there something that just worked really well for you that you would take and apply to the other sites that you own?
Yeah, the biggest aha moment for this site, like I mentioned, this is my first, major success, really my first big blog that I've had, is really just seeing that it works. Once I had the process for writing the content, once I had the process for the keyword research, we had articles getting published to the site. It was just steady progress. You can write an article and you can expect to get this many page views and you can expect it to earn this much money. And for me, that was the biggest win because I've been able to repeat that process on all of my other sites. The same formula that I used for this site, I've used for other projects. They're all doing extremely well too. So that for me was the big win. It was just knowing that it works.
Well, let's take that and flip it around because every business comes with its set of challenges. So what would you say was your biggest setback or challenge with this one?
With the information-based content and with being, I guess, Google search centric, SEO centric for my traffic, the biggest challenge, I guess, is that sandbox phase where, you're not sure if the process is working. You don't see your articles ranking right away. Your traffic is very small initially. But, like I mentioned just a second ago, you see a point where Google starts to trust your site. You've established some authority and, things start to hockey stick. So I think the biggest challenge in the beginning was really just being unsure that the process works.
And just to kind of keep going. I see that a lot, actually, especially, when you're up on Reddit and you're kind of seeing people getting into it for the first time and you can see that they're disappointed. Their first article isn't getting any traction. The second one might not be either. And it's a process that just takes time. You're right. I'm really glad that you brought that up because it's not something that we hear very often from our sellers because I don't know. I think maybe they forget what it was like in the early days. That uncertainty, like you said, just is this going to take off? Is it going to work? So right now, the majority of your traffic is organic. And I know that you kind of mentioned about your keyword research process. What can you share with us about that? Like how much time have you spent on developing these pages to be SEO friendly?
So I mentioned that all of these are information based and, they're answering specific questions. You can call that long tail keywords. You can call that whatever term you want. But essentially what I'm looking for is what are parents asking about their babies? What are the common questions they have? What are the common concerns? So there's some intuition there. I don't really use keyword tools. I do use them occasionally just to explore a topic or just to see how things are related. But really what I'm using is the Google search itself. I'm looking at the, frequently asked questions that people also ask, and really just trying to figure out the root question that parents are asking. And then once I find that root question, I create an outline based around that answers anything related to that I can think of or that people are also asking in Google. And really just trying to, provide the best, most comprehensive answer to that topic that I can. And that usually translates into quite long articles. I think my average is between 1,600 and 1,800 words across 600 plus articles. These are comprehensive, well-researched articles, with good citations to credible sources. And like I said, it's all about the keyword research and creating the outlines for this type of content.
I really like that strategy. I've heard that from one other seller recently, just that they also were not really relying on keyword tools and instead chose to go to Google. And you don't really hear that very often. So I think that's cool. And it's obviously paid off for you. So I was going to ask, have you done any backlink campaigns?
No, the process I've followed from the beginning, doesn't involve backlinks at all. Of course, the site has gotten some natural backlinks from, just being cited from other blogs, but I've never done any active link building.
So what else are you doing in terms of marketing for this site?
Really not much. Like I said, this site relies on, Google search. I've got social media channels. I have a very small email list. I put different levels of effort into those other marketing channels in the past, and the ROI just never seemed to be there for me. Or if it was successful, it required constant upkeep. And so I go back to my original business model where I want to just be able to produce the content on evergreen topics, and it's going to continue to provide me traffic. And that's what Google search does. And that's what this type of content does. So the channels are there. Honestly, they're probably a big opportunity for someone who's more experienced in those spaces. But for me, it hasn't been worthwhile.
Okay. So exploring these additional marketing channels, adding other affiliate partners are some of the things that you've mentioned as growth opportunities for this business. What else do you see as the major opportunities for growth for a buyer?
Affiliate content and social media, email marketing. Like I said, I have a small list, but it could definitely be built out. When I did kind of dabble in the list building, I didn't have a lead magnet. I wasn't offering anything out, and I still, did get some signups there. I think there's a huge opportunity to create lead magnet or other enticements to get people onto an email list and do some email marketing. I think that we kind of mentioned link building as an option. Like I said, I've never done anything active, whether it's just direct outreach or hiring a service or whatever. One thing about this space is that I've written a lot of information content that ranks well for the topic that it's on. But there are a lot of big players in the space. When you're dealing with babies, you run into some very big domain names. So having a higher domain authority would certainly help across the entire site, I believe, to even push up the rankings further. There's 600 plus articles on the site, but when you're talking about babies, when you're talking about pregnancy, when you're talking about parenting, there are thousands and thousands of potential topics that you can write about. So there's really no end to the potential articles that you can create, adding different categories and building different clusters out. Also a big opportunity. Another opportunity that I would see, I've really shied away from a lot of medical based or YMYL content in this space. And if you have a medical background or you have access to medical professionals that you could use to, medically review and endorse the content, I think that would allow you to jump into more of those health-related, YMYL-related topics, which, like I said, I've really shied away from up until this point. So I think that's another big content opportunity as well.
Yeah, that's a really interesting opportunity. And I can definitely see how that would fit in with the topics that you discuss. So if we can turn our attention for a second to your content creation process, what does that currently look like? I know you've gone over what your keyword research process looks like, but how is your content being created?
Yeah, so I wrote about 100 articles or so myself initially when the site started. Like I mentioned before, I reached sort of a point where the site was making money and I took on writers and an editor, which was sort of an organic process. At a certain point, I got up to about 20 or 30 articles a month that I was publishing. And I kept that process up for about a year or so. I slowed that process down in November or December of 2021. basically just to kind of see what happens when I slow the publishing down. Does the site stay stable? Does the traffic stay stable? Which it did. I mean, I've only published 17 articles for the entirety of 2022, and traffic stays very stable. Rankings stay very stable. To me, that says that this content is standing on its own. The rankings and the evergreen topics are standing on their own. So my process, when I had the writers was, I did all the keyword research myself, finding the long tail keywords or the underserved topics. I wrote the outlines myself. My editor also did write some of the outlines following my examples. I would give those outlines to the writers and they would, give them back. I would give them feedback and really just hone in on the structure and the format that I was looking for. And as far as writers go, very easy to find in this niche. I used Upwork to find, I think, 99% of the writers that I used over the course of this project. And the reason why it's incredibly easy to find writers in this niche is because, well, quite frankly, the reader, is often either an expecting mother or, a mother that just recently gave birth to her child. And as you might expect, there are a lot of mothers out there that are on maternity leave or they're taking extended time away from work to care for their child or to handle the pregnancy. So I found a lot of expecting mothers recently, mothers that have bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, working professionals that are looking for freelance work while they're out of their normal profession. It was incredibly easy to find them. They were extremely reliable professionals. And also the most important thing is that they're incredibly experienced with, they're literally walking through everything that we talk about on the site. They're living it. They have that experience. They're going through the pregnancy. They've already had a child. There's a mix of experiences there that really comes through in the writing. I think that really gives the content that authenticity. Every single piece of content on the site was written by a mother or a father. So I think that really says a lot about the quality.
Yeah, definitely. So Josh, I'm curious, what does a typical week look like for you while you're running this business right now?
Well, right now, as I mentioned, I've really cut the content back. So I have no active writers and no active editor on this site right now. So for me at this moment, it's minimal. Really, at this point, less than an hour a week, maybe 30 minutes. I'm checking to make sure that I don't need to, update any plugins. I'm checking over the analytics, maybe making the odd update here or there to an article, but really it's incredibly minimal. And as I've said, even with the reduced content publishing schedule, the rankings have stayed the same. The traffic has stayed the same.
And what do you think the biggest challenge will be for a buyer taking over this business?
The biggest potential challenge, it sort of depends on the buyer's background. If you have any experience with this type of information content and with the subject, I really don't think you'll have much trouble, to be honest, because this is such a good base of content and it's so stable. It doesn't require much work, right? So you could purchase this site and really just watch the income come in and, make some changes, make some updates. There wouldn't be any urgency to do anything. But if you, wanted to start up the content creation process or you wanted to, add in different channels, maybe affiliate marketing and email marketing, it would really just be getting that process started because other than the organic traffic, those other opportunities are really going to be starting from the beginning.
And before we wrap up, I was just wondering, would you commit to a non-compete for a new owner?
Yes, I have no interest or plans to do anything else in this niche.
And how much support are you offering buyers?
I think I put down that I would offer, a couple of phone calls and email support for 30 days. I'm flexible with that. I think this would be a really easy site to take over and you wouldn't really need to have, there's not a lot of technical pieces. There's not a lot of active pieces, but I'd be happy to, hop on the phone as many times as it takes over that first month, respond to emails, anything like that, just to make sure that it's seamless.
That's great. So are you open to negotiating something like an earnout or another type of deal structure?
If it makes sense, we could have that conversation.
So Josh, just before we wind down, if you're putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think this is a business worth buying?
This is a business worth buying because it's a business worth owning. I profited greatly from this site. I built it over the past 4 years now. It's kind of my baby, no pun intended with the topic, but it's just a great site. I never thought that I would sell it. I only chose to sell it now, like I said, to restructure, my personal finances and my business structure and business finances. This is a profitable business. It's a stable business. It's turnkey. You'll be purchasing a great cash flow, a huge, stable, organic traffic base. It's just a great foundation. Whether you already have a site yourself that you want to add it on to, maybe you have a product-based site that you want to have some blog content to push organic traffic to, it's just going to be a great, stable property for you.
Well, I think that is an excellent note to leave off on. Josh, I really want to thank you for coming on today and giving us a little more insight into both you and your business. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed this, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be here.
Thank you. I appreciate your time as well.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 61024. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.